The film tells a story based on the true events experienced by an ex-con nicknamed Papillon. The film begins with a message stating that the plot is based on real events. Then, an iron prison door opens. Out peeps the main character, prisoner Henri Charrière, nicknamed Papillon. The story shifts to Paris in 1931. Papillon, dressed in an expensive suit, cracks a safe in someone's apartment, then slides down the drainpipe and heads to a cabaret. There, he meets with the club owner who eagerly demonstrates how his thugs beat up some unfortunate guy. According to the boss, he snitched on him to the police. After taking the diamond loot from the thief, the boss nonchalantly implies that Henri will suffer a worse fate if he tries to pocket more than his share. Later, Papillon waits in an alley for his girlfriend's shift to end. Girls with very dexterous hands for honest work. He gives her a necklace, but the unaccounted piece of jewelry is spotted by one of the leader's henchmen. After a wild night, that includes drinking alcohol right on the street in front of the performing artists, the landlord knocks on the door of the apartment of a naked man with a girlfriend. Unaware of anything wrong with him, the thief opens the door to him and they break in, accusing him of the murder of a local pimp, the same snitch who had been beaten the day before. Saying goodbye to his beloved girl, the moth promises to escape and return to her. In the cell, the burglar is unilaterally introduced to the robber by the raider Julot. A new friend recommends getting some money, or there will be no escape. During a group medical checkup, Julot shows him Louis Degas, a counterfeiter who surely has money. After the examination, the prisoners are informed that they will be deported to French Guiana, a colony in South America where they will serve out their full sentences for life, meanwhile being kept busy with hard labor for the benefit of their homeland. On the ship, Henri offers Louis protection in exchange for a part of the money needed to make their escape. Otherwise, the proletariat, wanting to seize what had been stolen, would make sure the crook doesn't get to spend the money before meeting an early end. Louis refuses, but that same night, he witnesses a massive man empty the guts of his fellow prisoner, realizing he could be next. The counterfeiter accepts the pimp's offer. The following night, a heavy man with a knife attempts to kill Louis, but he is protected by his newfound ally. A brawl breaks out, which the guards put an end to by releasing scalding steam into the compartment. Henri's bloodied hands give away his participation in the fight, following which he is punished and shackled. During the disembarkation, Julot falls down the stairs in advance, injuring his leg with a concealed blade. He's assigned to the infirmary, the rest are shown around for life. The seasoned commandant admits he's not against prisoners trying to escape. Those not shot right away will be put in solitary confinement for 2 years, repeat offenders for 5 years. Yet, if they manage to escape, the sea's full of hungry sharks. But if someone happens to kill somebody, then the glorious French invention of the guillotine was still actively used in civilized countries in the first half of the 20th century, especially in cases like this. But hard-headed Henri, a true rebel, is a devoted son of Mother Anarchy. Warnings don't affect him. He's already hatching a daring plan for early release. First, he needs to get into the infirmary to see the business-minded Julot. To arrange the transfer, he negotiates with the local fixer, but he needs money. Louis must retrieve a capsule hidden in his rectum, incidentally soiling the bills with a certain substance. But money doesn't smell. After a voluntary donation to the fund for the needy, Louis and Henri are assigned to the infirmary as orderlies. It would seem that the plan worked, but the counterfeiter is recognized by the deputy commandant. He has a personal score to settle. Therefore, the creative duo is sent to hard labor to carry heavy loads. Here they get acquainted with Charrière, and at the same time almost lose a well-worn stash when Louis strains too much to push a cart of stones. Henri finds the capsule and returns it to him, not so much out of friendship as out of reluctance to keep finances in the oven. At a halt, Henri and Charrière discuss the possibility of escaping. The watchman has some plans, but he needs money for a boat. The conversation is interrupted by an argument with some thug named Sluy. The stranger wants to take his money. Moth intervenes, but the convoy ends the mess with a warning shot into the air. On the way back, the guards pick up a local ferryman with a batch of fresh courtesans. Moth tries to negotiate with him for dumping, but he almost gives him up, bargaining for a large price. In the end, he agrees to help, only for 3 days, after which the boat sets sail from the island. During the shower, a group of comrades tries to redistribute material goods, but brute physical strength, a touch of luck, a well-aimed punch help Henri maintain the status quo. But the incident prompts Louis to think that he won't last long here and asks to be taken to freedom. The next day, prisoners gather in the square for an execution. Someone tried to escape, stabbing a couple of guards, one fatally. The condemned man turns out to be Julot. Henri stands up. Recognizing him after beheading, the commandant orders Moth and another prisoner of his choice to remove the body. Henri picks Louis, who is anything but thrilled about carrying the corpse. As they carry the body to the boat, Moth becomes sick. He falls to the ground. The guard whips him, which infuriates Moth. The convict hits the guard on the head with a rock and tries to escape. A worn-out Louis, who has lost his eyeglasses and can't even stand, is left behind. Henri jumps into the river under the whistle of bullets released into the night. The Moth makes it to the boat. The ferryman, he doesn't have money on him, but he promises to pay later. In response to that, he laughs and his friends come out of the darkness with weapons. They have a contract with the commandant to catch fugitives, paid better than what the convicts can offer. Henri will be locked up for 20 years in solitary confinement, where the silence should not be broken. There he is, periodically beaten and fed just enough to keep him alive. But one beautiful day, he finds a half of a coconut in a bucket of water. Now he will be fed better. The enhanced food allows the Moth to revive. He starts doing physical exercises to keep in shape. There's enough protein now, just like in the notorious American prison. To avoid the horrible fate of withering in isolation, he is helped by a lucky break. The suspicious guards checked the bucket one day and found the smuggled coconut. After that, the commandant himself came to inquire who was so caring for him. The Moth diligently keeps silent, even when his already meager rations are cut in half. Then the roof is closed above his head, plunging him into complete darkness. Even when the hungry, emaciated prisoner is tempted with fresh soup, he doesn't surrender the benefactor. The darkness, silence, loneliness, and hunger torment the Moth with hallucinations and visions of the past. But he doesn't give up. After the prescribed 2 years, he is transferred from solitary confinement to the infirmary, where he successfully plays the role of a crazy person. During this time, Louis managed to become a scribe and attain some freedom among the prisoners. He visits a friend in the hospital, and he informs him that he has not given up the idea of escape. But now the conman himself developed a plan. In a few days, a movie screening will be arranged for the local bigwigs. The commandant will increase the security, but it will be mainly near the guests, not around the perimeter. In addition, the noise from the movies will hide footsteps and other activities. Henri plans the details. Pretends to have fits of anger so that the doctor prescribes him a sedative, which he successfully delays taking. Later, he engages in a conversation with a charming boy who is eyed by the orderly who yearns for a woman's touch. At the needed moment, he will have to be distracted. The final step is a meeting with Charrière. He had injured his arm to get hospitalized, but he can still manage to get a boat if he has the money. Louis ends up giving him almost everything that's left. On the scheduled day, Louis, playing the role of a waiter, slips in a calming substance which he hands over to the guards, pretending it to be a gift from the commandant. All this while, Mathieu diverts the attention of the lustful burly guard, Henri. Charrière unscrews the legs from their bed. They then follow him to the bathing room, where they stun the guard, take his keys, and proceed to the first floor, where the rest of the guards are already sedative-laced drink. The escapees are waiting for Louis, but the commandant holds him up and suddenly it starts raining, interrupting the open-air cinema. And the guests are escorted under shelter, but due to a short circuit, the lights go out. To the sounds of an automatic siren, Louis unlocks the door for his comrades. Together they climb onto the prison wall. When they jump down from it, the electricity turns on. From surprise, Louis falls and breaks his leg. He is dragged in the rain to the riverbank, where the sellers are supposed to be waiting. They are met by armed men. Louis has to give the last of his money so that they'll take them to the hidden boat, but the plan only succeeds at dawn. The fugitives in a boat reach the river to the exit to the ocean, however. The frail vessel soon fills up with too much water. The unhappy sailors don't have time to scoop out the water. Charrière suggests they get rid of the extra ballast, by which he means one of the small fellow travelers. The noble burglar obviously refuses, of course. They've been together since the first kilometer. The situation worsens when a storm appears on the horizon. Charrière, having turned the small guy against Louis, takes out a knife, however. The cute one didn't try to please the guard for nothing. He's not killing his partners now. He lunges at the big man but flies overboard. A fight ensues between Charrière and Tell, in which the former nearly drowns the latter, the one who'd been sitting. Before that, to the side, Louis, realizing that such an outcome does not bode well for him, picks up the dropped blade and systematically pokes it into the back of the sealer. Throwing the corpse overboard and picking up the cute one, they get into a storm. In the following scene, Henri wakes up somewhere in a cabin on an island. It's unclear how they got to land, but the local natives, under the guidance of Christian missionaries, gave them shelter. The Moth finds Louis with a splint on his broken leg and tells him to leave, but Louis refuses. When he warned Henri that Charrière can't be trusted, Henri didn't listen. He doesn't want to leave, and finally he's popular not only with the fat jailers, but also with the charming natives. The moth leaves the coastal camp alone, but when he climbs the mountain, he sees the jailer's car. Warned by the nun, he rushes back the short way to warn his associates, but doesn't make it in time. The good-looking person was shot before his eyes, and they bound him and Louis, who was touched to his core that Henri risked himself to return for him. In the following scene, the thin moth, after spending 5 years in a solitary cell, is released. The commandant sends him to Devil's Island, a terrifying prison on a lonely rock in the middle of the ocean, where escape is impossible, for there's nowhere to run. In its old fortress live the dregs of the prison society, left to survive on their own. Henri meets an aged Louis. The commandant did not imprison him alone for 2 years for the first escape. He immediately sent him to the island for eternal exile. The swindler, who managed to save fragments of his sanity, paints pictures on the walls and lives quite comfortably compared to the rest of the population. But even after all these years, Henri is not satisfied. He still plans to escape, so that he needs an outlet to the ocean. Louis guides him to a cliff from where, theoretically, one can jump into the water and survive, but where would he swim without a boat? Observing the waves and tides, the moth notices patterns and devises a plan to create a raft from scavenged materials that will be carried to the mainland by the current. They will hear. They build it from sacks, coconuts, and other found materials, but on the day of the escape, the swindler refuses. Unlike Henri, he has nowhere else to go. He has made a pretty good life here, and he would need to jump off a cliff to survive. The friends bid farewell, after which the moth throws the raft into the water and jumps in after it. Luis looks at the ripples in the water, but he can't see his companion. He's about to lose hope, removes his glasses and wipes his tears when he hears a triumphant yell from below. Henri has swum to the raft and grabbed hold. They say goodbye to each other one last time. Afterwards, the moth drifts on the endless ocean waves. Suddenly, a jetliner passes in the sky, moving the story to 1969. An older but very much alive Henri is flying to Paris, where he's still considered a criminal. He brings his notes, memoirs of his hard life in the colonial settlement, to a publishing house, written while he still remembered those times. He wants these notes to be published in France, the country that wrongfully sentenced him to such a life. The movie concludes with archival footage showing that the prison where the moth was held was closed forever during his lifetime. The book became a bestseller, and he was pardoned by the Minister of Justice.